My husband died when I was still young. I sent off my paralyzed mother-in-law, raised our children, and by the age of 50, I had aged to look like someone in their 80s. When I heard footsteps outside the door, I thought it was my children coming to see me off one last time. I struggled to look, and to my shock, it was my husband Jack. But wasn't Jack already dead? Standing next to him was a young, well-kept woman, Emily, the daughter of the village chief. Jack looked down at me, Grace, from above and said smugly, "I wasn't actually dead. I've just been living with Emily. Don't worry, we're doing great. As for my mom, thanks for taking care of her. If it weren't for you, Emily wouldn't have lived so comfortably." My children stood off to the side, flattering their Aunt Emily. One of them said, "Don't worry and go in peace, Mom. Dad and Grandma will give you a proper burial." "But Dad said after he dies, he wants to be buried with Grandma, so you'll just go alone." At the edge of death, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I was so enraged, I literally died from anger. If I had another chance at life, just wait and see how I'd make every one of you pay. The next second, I opened my eyes to see Aunt May staring at me with concern. "Grace, what's wrong? You're pregnant. You shouldn't be working in the fields during the first 3 months. Doesn't your man care about you the most?" I held back my overwhelming joy, looked down at my strong, youthful hands. I'd really come back to life. Aunt May, worried, snatched the hoe and water bucket from my hands. "I already watered your land for you. Go home and rest. Are you overheated or something?" I didn't put on any airs and looked at Aunt May gratefully. "Auntie, I'm not feeling well. I'll head home first." As I walked home, my thoughts were in turmoil. I had walked this muddy village road thousands of times. If it hadn't been for Jack, why would I have stayed? I had a city household registration. I didn't need to live in the countryside. My parents even warned me back then that I'd regret it. But I was so stubborn, insisted on marrying him. Turns out they were right. Jack was never worth anything. Thankfully, the one smart thing I did was not transferring my household registration. I was still on my parents' registration record. Only had a marriage certificate with Jack. Before marrying, Jack told me he was the factory director. After the wedding, he admitted he was just a relative of the director and had borrowed the factory for the ceremony. That factory had nothing to do with him. I wanted to leave immediately, but then I got pregnant. Looking down at my flat belly now, all I felt was resentment. In my last life, I gave birth to twins. After that, Jack went off to drive long-haul trucks. He supposedly died in a landslide, and his mother was so upset she became paralyzed. I spent a lifetime wiping her butt, changing her bedpans, exhausted every day, while she cursed me nonstop for killing her son. I had no choice but to be filial, enduring her hits and insults. Now, I finally understand, it was all a scam. That entire family was in on it. In this life, if I don't make them suffer until they shed a layer of skin, I'm not Grace anymore. First thing I had to do, change the script. In my past life, they all said I pushed her son to his death. This time, I was going to make sure she got her beloved reputation as the good wife and mother. As I walked home, I saw Jack's mother sitting with him, eating peanuts. When she saw me coming, she instinctively stuffed the leftover peanuts into her pocket, just like she always did. Jack frowned and asked, "Didn't you say you were going to water the fields? Why are you back so soon?" I couldn't hold back the tears and began acting right away. "Jack, everything I told you was a lie. You can't go drive big rigs. What if something happened to you and you died? Then I'd be a widow. I won't let you go." As soon as the words left my mouth, Jack and his mom stiffened. They looked at each other. His mother asked, "Grace, what's going on? Didn't you say a real man should go out and make something of himself?" I nodded, crying with tears and snot streaming down my face. "Yeah, Mom, why don't you try talking some sense into your son? What if he dies out there? You old hag lost a son once and didn't care, but what about me and the baby in my belly? What are we supposed to do? I'm telling you now, I won't let Jack go." Jack got anxious and gave his mom a look. She hesitated, but finally changed her tune out of love for her son. "Grace, I think a man's career and future are more important," she said. "Yeah? Well, I absolutely disagree," I shot back. "No way, it's non-negotiable. If that truck driver comes again, I'll make sure I'm gone before Jack is. You go if you want, but not with my permission." With that, I stepped outside and marched straight to the village entrance. I raised my voice and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Folks of the village, come judge for yourselves. Jack wants to leave and drive trucks. At home, it's just me, his mother, and I'm pregnant. How are we supposed to survive like that? There's no way I'm letting his mother send him off to drive." I already had a plan. In this life, I wasn't letting that old witch off the hook. Last time, I was labeled a curse on my husband for my whole life. This time, it was her turn to carry that burden and have her name etched in disgrace. A crowd started gathering to watch the drama unfold. Even Emily showed up. She was the village chief's daughter, and the village chief was holding a lottery scroll nearby. Back when Jack was younger, he didn't settle down. Who would have thought he and Emily would end up together in old age? Seeing that woman made my blood boil. Don't tell me she wasn't involved. Don't tell me it was my fault for not keeping an eye on my man. Emily, who had already attended our wedding, still stuck around Jack. How shameless could she be? This pair of adulterers, along with that old hag who'd cursed me for life, I wasn't going to let a single one of them off easy. Jack came out of the house and saw me shouting, then spotted Emily. His face turned a mix of embarrassment and fury. "Grace, have you lost your mind? Wasn't it you who begged me to go out and make a career for myself in the first place?" "I don't care anymore," I yelled, throwing all shame aside and bawling like the roughest country woman. "You're not going. What if you die? Then what about the baby in my belly? He'd have no father. I won't allow it." The crowd began to murmur. "Grace has got a point," someone said. "She hasn't even given birth yet. What if something really does happen?" Another chimed in, "That mother of his doesn't even care about her son." I turned to Jack's mother and pointed right at her. "You heartless old woman, you don't care about your own son, letting him go out there like that. What if something happens to him, huh?" "What happens to me to us?" Honestly, I just wanted to raise a big enough ruckus that everyone knew they were in the wrong. That alone would give me some peace. Emily stepped forward and said, trying to play the peacemaker, "Grace, maybe we should just listen to my brother." But I was already seeing red. Without a second thought, I stood up and slapped her across the face. Smack! Then I grabbed her collar and started swinging, slapping her left and right. I'd been itching for an excuse, and now I had one. "Oh, so you want my man dead, is that it? You bringer of bad luck, you jinx. You better wait and see what I'll do next." I yelled as I kept hitting her. I was used to farm work. These weren't weak slaps. Emily was totally stunned. Jack, furious, rushed forward to push me away, but I shoved Emily straight to the ground. Jack quickly bent down to help her up. "What the hell is wrong with you? Are you crazy?" he shouted. I pointed right at both of them. "You think I don't see what's going on here? You little tramp. You think I wouldn't notice you cozying up to my man, just waiting for him to die so you can have him for yourself? You haven't even married, but you're already crawling all over him. What's your plan? Be his little side piece?" Outwardly, I looked like a madwoman, but inside, I felt amazing. In my past life, I was too proud, too proper, and that's exactly why I was trampled by everyone. Not this time. This time, I'd speak up when I needed to, fight back when I needed to, say what needed to be said, do what needed to be done. Emily cried in Jack's arms, curled up in pain. That was fine by me. I pointed at her father, the village chief, and tore into him too. "Look at the filthy daughter you raised, sobbing in my man's arms like that. She's not even married, and I bet she's not a virgin either. Who knows, maybe the baby in my belly already belongs to my man." That's what I said. Emily's father lost it. He grabbed her and yanked her back, then turned around and kicked Jack square in the chest, knocking him to the ground. Emily didn't care about appearances anymore and wailed, "Dad, it was her. She hit me. You have to stand up for me." Emily's mother, ashamed and furious, snapped, "That's enough. Let's go home." What kind of daughter cries in another woman's man's arms? You're going to be the death of me and your father. Jack's expression, which had shown concern earlier, now turned even more pained. Only after all this chaos did I feel even the slightest bit of my anger subside. But really, only a fraction of it. The rest, 90% of it, was going to take 3 ruined lives to pay back. I pointed right at Jack's nose and shouted, "I don't care what you think. If you insist on going out there and end up dead, I'm gonna curse your mother and that tramp Emily for the rest of my life. It'll be their fault you die. If you're so desperate to go, then divorce me first. Otherwise, I won't allow it. Jack looked like he was about to hit me. I stepped right up, pointed at my belly, and called him out in front of everyone. Go on, hit me in front of all these people. You want to beat me to death? 'Cause a miscarriage? Go ahead, I'm just waiting. Try it. If you lay a hand on me, I'll poison every last one of you with rat poison. Everyone around us stared. Jack didn't dare make a move. I stomped back into the house, and this time I wasn't going to play the polite city girl. Let's be real, I wasn't even going to pretend to be a decent person anymore. I was here for revenge. I was the ghost come back for blood. Jack's family was dirt poor. Even though I'd come from the city and had a strong foundation, after arriving here, I'd still been starved to the point of physical deficiency. I didn't want this baby. In my past life, I remembered exactly what those little bastards turned into. Bootlicking traitors. The most brutal revenge I could take was to make sure they never even had the chance to be born. I wasn't going to be the kind of woman who said, "Oh, I'll raise them so they regret it their whole lives." No. If I can't raise them right, I won't raise them at all. Didn't I already give everything in my past life? And for what? Jack's genes were strong. I had to use this child to my full advantage. So I grabbed the key and unlocked the food storage. I took out the white flour and premium rice and made myself steamed buns and a pot of rice. I even boiled all the eggs they were planning to sell, right in spring water. I needed the protein and nutrients. Jack and his mom came home from their usual rounds. They had assumed I'd be cooking and that dinner would be ready as soon as they returned. But what they found was a table full of empty shells and only a pile of eggs left. Jack's mom freaked out when she saw I'd eaten 8 eggs. 8? Your wife ate 8 whole eggs? Each one's 3 cents. 8 eggs, that's 24 cents. You lazy, greedy. Get up, you useless wench. She banged on my door like a lunatic, but the door was locked tight. I was young again and sleeping soundly. Once I locked the door, I didn't wake until evening. When I finally stepped out, she had already cooked dinner. The moment she saw me, she started scolding in agony. What the hell is wrong with you? Why did you eat 8 eggs? That's wasteful. Completely wasteful. I rolled my eyes. Mom, that's not how you should see it. Aren't I pregnant? Isn't this baby Jack's? If your grandson wants to eat eggs, why shouldn't he? In my past life, this old woman always used the baby as an excuse to manipulate me. Fine, now we're playing that game. Let's see who wins. This old hag had bullied me because she thought I was stupid for marrying Jack. Thought she could take advantage of me. I'd like to see her try again. If she's got the guts, let's see her be shameless to the very end and leave me and my child alone. Back then, after Jack died, I gave birth and immediately had to go back to the fields. Every single egg went to those kids. I didn't even get to taste chicken shit, let alone eggs. But Eva accepted it. It was my own blood. I had no regrets. But now, I walked right up to the table and saw, just like always, the dishes were placed in front of Jack's side of the table. So far from me, it might as well have been across the field. I didn't give a damn anymore. I grabbed the rice ladle and scooped the dry, crusty rice into my bowl. Then I picked up the plate of food, dumped the entire thing onto my plate, and left only the leftover sauce on the table. That was always my treatment before. Now it was time to turn the tables. Jack didn't say a word, but tapped his chopsticks. He was holding back his rage and stared at me. His mother got the signal and immediately started screaming, "You useless, unwanted tramp. If it weren't for Jack being with you, who would want a used-up tramp who got knocked up by someone else?" Jack's mom snapped. In the past, I used to care too much about saving face. But now, at over 50, I'd lived long enough to let those words go in one ear and out the other. I finished eating in record time, then dumped what was left of their untouched food into my own bowl. Without missing a beat, I walked over to the bamboo basket and dumped it over. I said, "Looks like you've had enough too. And for the record, this tramp body got ruined by your son's filthy stick. Your son is nothing but a bloated, toxic corpse. If you want to blame someone, blame him. The bastard in my belly is his too. If you've got a problem with it, go call the cops, have him arrested for rape. Let him rot in prison." Jack was furious. "What's your problem?" You're acting like this because I tried to better myself and now you think you're gonna lose control of me, so you're throwing a fit? I smirked. That's right, I'm not letting you go. What? You leave and something happens. Who's gonna compensate me for my loss? You bitch. Jack's mom spat. If Jack dies out there, she'd probably be thrilled. Finally get to remarry, go have a baby with that limping mutt from the end of the village, have herself a second son. Well, I said, I don't want to be a widow. And yeah, maybe my mouth is filthy now, but let's see if you two lowlifes have the guts to kill me. The only reason you're keeping me around is because there's something in it for you. His mom lunged forward, hand raised to slap me. But I'd eaten well. I had energy now. Go ahead, hit me. Maybe you'll hit hard enough to kill the baby, I dared her. Hit me, and I'll leave. But you better believe, once those words are out of my mouth, neither of you will ever dare lay a finger on me again. That was enough to make both of them freeze. I had a city household registration. All the food and fabric coupons we were living on came from my distribution. If we had to live off just the village shares, we wouldn't even have enough to eat. And yet I'd been the idiot, giving up my own portion so those two scumbags could eat better. I sneered. Nothing to say now, huh? Just wait until Jack divorces me. Let's see what you two eat then. Mom, I added, you should probably stop talking. With that, I went back to my room. Jack didn't come in that night. He slept outside. I, on the other hand, slept peacefully. I've always been beautiful, but men, they love the weak ones. Women like Emily, soft and easy. Guys fall head over heels for that. But someone like me, someone beautiful and strong, scared them. Weak men couldn't handle me. They'd just feel emasculated. Today was the day Jack was supposed to leave and start his trucking apprenticeship. In just a few days, the rumor of his death would begin to spread. Naturally, Emily would be by his side when it happened. The two of them would build their future together from the ground up. And me? I'd been chosen by Jack as the perfect babysitter for his mom, the blood bank for his family. I raised his kids, and once they were grown, I realized they'd probably been in touch with him behind my back all along. That's when I understood why my life had been so miserable. This time, I wasn't gonna let them get their way. As I got up and walked over, Jack looked at me with that same soft, helpless look on his face. Grace, come on, you know how Mom is. Don't take it personally. If this were my past life, every time this bastard said something nice, my heart would melt. But now, after years of being cursed and tending to a paralyzed old woman, my heart was harder than stone. There was no way I'd go soft in this life. Of course, I had to make sure these two scumbags walked the road they deserved. So I acted like I didn't mind. I walked right over, took an axe, and chopped open the lock on the white flour and egg box. Of course, I said, smiling. Jack, you know I still love you. It's just that the baby needs nutrition and a father. His eyes flickered with frustration. I wasn't stupid. I knew he thought pacifying me was the easiest solution. He pleaded, Grace, please don't be mad at me anymore. After Emily got hit, the village chief said I'm not allowed to work in the fields again. I cheerfully kneaded the dough and steamed 2 eggs. Then I looked at Jack and said sweetly, Don't worry, Jack, I'll take care of everything. Right before Jack left, the county officials came to inspect the village. I'd even been named the most filial daughter-in-law. Now it was time for my mouth to finally be put to use. Jack thought I had given in. He smiled gently. I believe you. Just make sure to unlock the door tonight. I need to grab a few things. I nodded. You can go in and pack now if you want, but I still don't agree to you leaving. Jack probably thought I was just being stubborn again. I finished kneading the dough into a smooth ball, folded it over, and rolled it out into perfect handmade noodles. I tossed them into a pot of boiling water. On the side, I scooped in a spoonful of lard and sprinkled some chopped scallions. The aroma was absolutely mouth-watering. Drawn by the smell, Jack came over. Honey, this smells amazing. Let me have a bite? I didn't respond. I cracked one of the eggs and dropped it into the bowl. Jack clearly thought I'd boiled the 2 eggs for him. I ignored him and moved on to prep the next one. He watched me, clearly itching to eat. Once I finished wrapping up the noodles, Jack reached his hand out when he saw me complete a bowl. I calmly put it into my own bowl. His face dropped. So that's it? You're really done with me, huh? I stayed silent and ate, noodles thick with flavor, Hot, savory, perfect. Delicious. These rations were mine to begin with. I didn't want to share anymore, so I wasn't going to. Simple as that. Jack was furious and stormed off. I could guess with a toe where he was going, straight to Emily. I took my time finishing my meal, then grabbed the broom and started sweeping. I needed to rehearse the image of the poor, wronged wife before company arrived. Sure enough, not long after, the village chief showed up, leading a group of sharply dressed men in Zhongshan suits. At the front was a man with a scholarly air and refined features. He was at least 6 feet tall, towering compared to the average man of this era, and his frame filled out his clothes nicely. He was handsome, too. I was taken aback for a moment. He looked familiar, though I couldn't quite place him. But the way he looked at me wasn't exactly innocent either. My chance had come. The village chief caught sight of me and quickly leaned in, giving me a signal. "Grace, this is Mr. Pei, Secretary Pei from the county office. He's visiting our village for an official interview. As someone who came here from the city, you've seen a lot. Feel free to speak openly with the secretary." The moment I heard that, I snapped into character. "I can really speak openly?" I asked. Secretary Pei nodded. "Of course. If you need help or want to report anything, you can come to me." At that, I couldn't hold back anymore. My tears started falling in big drops. "Secretary Pei, my life here is unbearable. My husband is never home, and now he's fallen in love with another woman. I'm pregnant with his child, and trapped in this place. I desperately need help." I covered my face and sobbed. The village chief quickly tried to change the subject. "Grace, don't say things you can't take back. This is Secretary Pei you're talking to." Secretary Pei clearly hadn't expected that. Seeing me crying like that, he asked, "Who has your husband fallen in love with? Tell me, and I'll help mediate." I looked straight at the village chief, then pointed at him. Who else could it be? The chief froze and instinctively denied it. Emily would never do something like that. He was patriarchal, sure, but he still loved his daughter. Secretary Pei looked back at me, composed and calm. "Comrade, don't cry. Do you have proof? If this turns out to be true, I have the authority to have your marriage annulled." At last, I looked at Secretary Pei with deep gratitude. "Really? You'd do that?" "But no, I can't. I'm pregnant with his child. I still want to try and make it work. If he truly changes, I'm willing to give him a second chance. But if he does this again, I'll divorce him for sure." Secretary Pei looked slightly disappointed, like I hadn't said what he'd expected to hear. "You're a good woman. I've seen enough women yelling and threatening to leave. But you, this is a first." I wiped my tears and smiled. Of course, our great leader once said, "Women hold up half the sky." I live by those words. That seemed to impress him even more. "Then take me to the evidence." I nodded. In my past life, it wasn't that I hadn't suspected Jack and Emily of sneaking around. I was just stupid, thinking I could swallow it all and keep going. Not anymore. This time, I was going to expose it all. The village chief began to panic. "What are you two doing?" But Secretary Pei gave him a light glance, and the chief immediately quieted down. I led the group to the grove just outside the village. I gave them all a look to stay quiet and not follow too closely. Then I took Secretary Pei's hand and prepared to walk in. He seemed slightly surprised, but he didn't pull away. His hand was warm. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd held someone's hand. Secretary Pei's hand was large and dry. It gave a sense of steadiness. Not long after, we saw my man, Jack, wrapped around Emily, passionately kissing her. The moment they pulled apart, Jack reached up to gently stroke her cheek. "Did it hurt when that bitch hit you?" he asked, full of concern. "I'm fine," Emily sniffled. "Next time, your man can hit her back for me." We both stopped in our tracks. Secretary Pei and I exchanged a glance. We had to hear the rest. I clutched his hand, determined to collect as much moral leverage as I could. If Secretary Pei could someday help me change my fate, this was the foundation. Emily cried, tears rolling down her face like a pitiful flower in the rain. Of course it hurt. I mean, sure, she's your wife, but she can't treat me like that. That hit me straight in the chest, like a breath I couldn't take in. And judging by Secretary Pei's clenched jaw, it wasn't sitting right with him either. Jack comforted her gently. "Don't worry, we already agreed we'd run long-haul routes together. She'll stay home to take care of Mom. We've talked it all through." She's going to pretend to be paralyzed so that woman can stay home, have my kid to carry on the family name, and take care of mom in her old age. That way, we don't need you around the house. So it was true, what I suspected in my past life. Jack's mom hadn't been paralyzed at the start. She faked it until one day, after lying in bed long enough, her body actually gave out. And I spent over 10 years wiping her ass. Just thinking about it made me sick. Secretary Pye was furious, about to burst into the clearing. I squeezed his hand, stopping him. We had to let this play out. Emily giggled through her tears and said in a whiny tone, "I don't want that old hag giving birth to your kid." Jack, really? But Jack, he was the real piece of work. Don't be dumb. If she becomes a widow and remarries, her life might actually get better. But if she has a few brats and is stuck with my mom, she'll be tied down. No one'll want her. She'll be miserable for the rest of her life. Emily finally smiled, bright and proud. Now that's more like it. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. You're the best. Secretary Pye glanced at me, lowering his voice. Should we go in now? I shook my head and pulled him back. No need. It's enough that you saw. Let's go. As we neared the edge of the grove, I let go of his hand. Don't let the village chief see you. That's his daughter in there. Just say you didn't see anything, and we can't let them know we know, or they'll find a way to trap us later. He nodded, understanding. I walked ahead, so I didn't see how tightly he clenched his hand for a second afterward. Soft. Back outside, the village chief looked smug. Well, didn't see anything, did you, Secretary Pye? Like I said, it's impossible. All lies, slander. I put on a reluctant expression, though I still spoke firmly. Maybe we just didn't find the right spot. Either way, your daughter and my husband are definitely not innocent. Secretary Pye didn't respond. He simply strode away without a word. The village chief turned and gave me a glare so full of hate, it looked like he wanted to skin me alive. This was a risky move. Secretary Pye was the most important person in my entire plan. In the future, he'd accomplish great things, rise up the ranks, maybe even become city party secretary. Earning his sympathy today was no small feat. If I could keep his support, my revenge would be much easier. The village chief would definitely go tell Emily everything. So tonight, I had to eat well, because if there was a beating coming, I needed the strength to take it. When I got home, I didn't hold back. I took every last bit of grain we had left and made steamed buns and corn cakes. I even ate all the eggs. There were only 5 chickens left in the yard. Honestly, I was tempted to eat one, but killing and cleaning a chicken was too much trouble. Once I was full, all I had to do was wait. In the past, I used to go out and work the fields every day just to earn a few more labor points for the household, hoping to trade them in at year's end for more grain. But now, I didn't even want to spend another New Year here. Jack kicked the door open and stormed in, his face twisted in anger. The village chief told me you ran your mouth in front of the county officials, and you even went into the woods looking for me and Emily. What was that, guilt? Sounded like it. I stayed calm and looked him dead in the eye. What misunderstanding? We didn't actually see anything. If we had, I'd already have asked Secretary Pye to file for divorce. My calmness only made his outrage look more desperate. Jack turned his back to me and said, I don't care, don't even think about divorcing me. I didn't care anymore either. I'd completely let go. Do what you want. If you want to leave, if you want to go drive trucks, go. It's no different than being divorced. I'm not interested in living like this with you anymore. If you walk out that door, I'll file for divorce. The baby in my belly? Its last and only purpose was to give me a clean exit. If Jack's mother managed to get it killed, I'd have the perfect excuse. Who could stop me from leaving then? Jack didn't even respond. He just went on packing his things like I hadn't said a word. I didn't stop him. I pretended to agree. Honestly, if he could actually strike it rich, fine. Jack, thinking I had finally come to my senses, smirked and said, Of course I'll make it big. You just need to take care of my mom and raise the kid right. I'm counting on you, Grace. You're the one who's going to carry on the family name for us. He said it like I was some disposable wench. I smiled and replied, Sure. That night, Jack's mom came back from the brigade, crying and howling. Grace, you rotten woman, you jinx, always stuffing your face. I was working all day and no one brought me anything to eat. You heartless witch. I sat there munching on the peanuts she had hidden for herself earlier and laughed. Mom, I suggest you lower your voice. Jack's leaving after all. Hearing that and seeing her son not denying it, she finally went quiet. But then she added, just make sure to give Jack that dowry you brought with you. It'll help him get started. Poor at home, rich on the road. The dowry? I said. That lady's wristwatch? I sold it ages ago. How else do you think I paid for my prenatal checkups? And to keep the money safe, I hid it in the chicken coop. These lazy people always made me feed the pigs and chickens. Who'd ever think to look for cash there? Jack's mom nearly lost her mind. What? Who does checkups in the countryside? You think having a baby needs to be examined? My son's not sick. I stared at her, completely speechless. Mom, please, mind your own business. And by the way, since you're so fixated on my dowry, let me remind you, didn't I give you back all the bride price after the wedding? You said it was your retirement money. Before we got married, they told me clearly that the bride price and dowry would both be mine after marriage, but after the wedding, the money was quickly taken back, and as for the dowry, I had to guard it with my life or they would have conned me out of it too. Jack's face darkened. Mom, if that's how it is, then... I just sneered inside. This selfish bastard. In our last life, he used my dowry to launch his so-called career. Now that he didn't have any startup funds, I wanted to see what he and Emily could build on nothing. Jack's mom lost it. That was my retirement money, Grace. My funeral expenses. I rolled my eyes. Like hell, it was just that. Back then, when she really became paralyzed, it was because she discovered the money was gone. She got so furious, her body gave out. I had no interest in playing peacemaker between two dogs tearing each other apart. But I wasn't going to let this moment slip by either. Mom, I actually think Jack has a point, I said sweetly. Going out into the world without money, how's that supposed to work? If I had known Jack was leaving, I would have definitely left my dowry for him. But hey, once your son makes it big, you'll get your retirement money back anyway. Jack nodded along like a loyal son, but I knew him better than that. He wasn't bold enough to take it by force. He'd steal it quietly behind everyone's back. Sure enough, Jack softened his tone toward his mom. Then, let's keep the money with you, Mom, for your retirement. I turned and went back to my room. Jack followed to finish packing his things. Thankfully, I was pregnant now, so he wouldn't dare touch me. The idea alone made my skin crawl. Him touching Emily and then touching me? Disgusting. But I couldn't confront him yet. Not just yet. Jack looked at me. That wristwatch must have been worth a lot, huh? Prenatal checkups are expensive. Grace, I know you're always doubting me, but you should at least support me while I'm trying to make something of myself. I just shrugged. I've got no money. Jack had nothing to say to that. But I didn't sleep that night. And just as I expected, I heard him sneaking next door, stealing from his mom. I really had to pretend I didn't see anything. Jack got off easy. The difference in this life was enormous. He had way less capital to work with. I wanted to see just how successful they could really be this time around. On the day Jack left, I put on a reluctant face in front of others, like I was being forced to let him go. But this time, the one who was actually eager to send him off was his mother. Once he was gone, I took the money and went straight to the county government compound. I told the guard at the gate, I'm looking for Secretary Pay. I'm a relative of his. In times like these, who didn't have a few poor relatives? The guard didn't dare delay and went to inform Secretary Pay right away. When he saw me walk in, Pay looked surprised. You? I nodded. Even though I'd lived in the village for over a year, my face was still just as pretty as ever. Right now, it was my most valuable asset. Without a word, I dropped to my knees in front of him and got ready to bow. He immediately stepped forward and stopped me. What are you doing? I knew that in his last life, he was an upright man who didn't get married until nearly 30. I wasn't going to miss out on him this time around. I threw my arms around him and started to cry. As long as he didn't push me away, I'd won. Pei was clearly stunned, frozen stiff with his hand awkwardly resting on my shoulder. He had no idea what to do. In a soft voice, I said, I really can't go on like this. Secretary Pei, please help me. My husband and Emily ran off together to drive trucks. They probably won't ever come back. I don't want to stay home and work like a mule for him anymore. He seemed to understand what I meant. Are you sure about this? Of course. He never loved me. He tricked me from the beginning, just so he could get access to my food rations. I can't have his baby. If I do, my life will be completely ruined. Please, help me. Pei leaned down and held me tighter, like he was trying to protect me from the whole world. Secretary Pei, I whispered, please let go. Just help me get into a hospital. I really don't want to have this child. Pei helped me up and personally took me to the county maternal and child health hospital. When we got to the entrance of the procedure room, I suddenly broke down in tears. Maybe after this, I'd never be able to have kids again. Maybe I'd regret this forever. Pei saw how scared I was and gently wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes. Don't cry. That man doesn't deserve to be a father. You'll have children again someday, right? His voice left no room for doubt. It was steady and certain, almost like an order. But to me, it felt like someone had finally taken charge. Like I finally had something to lean on. Then stay with me, I said. Just for this, it's the only thing I ask. I looked at Pei with pleading eyes. As I lay down on the cold operating table, he stayed beside me and held my hand. He leaned in and whispered, Don't be afraid. You'll have more children, I promise. The child was just over 2 months old, past 40 days, so the procedure had to be done by curettage. I didn't even take anesthesia. I needed to remember this pain, deep in my bones. The metal instruments were cold. They scraped away the tiny, unformed embryo. The pain was unbearable. My nails dug into Pei's hand, leaving deep red marks. Sometimes when the pain is too much, your body just shuts down. A defense mechanism. I passed out. When I woke up, Pei was sitting beside me, resting with his eyes closed, his head leaning back against the chair. I spoke weakly. Secretary Pei, thank you. He quickly rubbed his eyes, stood and poured me a glass of water. Helping me sit up, he said gently, Don't mention it. After what I saw that day, it's clear your husband isn't even human. You need to leave him. I want to, I said, but it's not easy. He's already gone. Getting rid of this baby was my way of fighting back. I thought about the children I'd struggled to raise in my past life, how they grew up calling someone else's wife their mom, and the pain I felt now was worth it. It was better than the deeper pain that would have come later. Thinking back, I should have listened to my parents and never married Jack. I brought all of this on myself. And just like that, I started crying again. Maybe because of the loss of the child. Maybe I was crying for myself. I looked at Secretary Pei and couldn't hold back the tears. He seemed to misunderstand and stepped forward, hugging me like he was comforting a child. It's okay, he said gently. The fact that this baby is gone just means you and it weren't meant to be. You'll have more children someday. Just divorce your husband. There are plenty of good men in this world. He lightly patted my back, like soothing a wounded child. It's not your fault he treated you this way. It's his fault. He didn't love you, didn't cherish you, but there will be someone who loves and cherishes you. I understood exactly what he meant. Everything was going just as I'd hoped. When will that person come into my life? I asked playfully. Pei thought for a moment. Maybe. Right now. I wiped the tears from my face and onto his shirt. When he saw what I was doing, he turned his face slightly and kissed the corner of my eye. His lips were soft. I didn't know what to say. Embarrassed, I didn't let go. I just held on to him tighter. It was like someone had hit pause on everything around us. His voice was low, but there was something inexplicably comforting in it. Whatever you want, I'll help you get it. Truthfully, I didn't need much, just someone who wouldn't care about my past. But that didn't mean I could give up on my revenge. I stayed quiet. Pei leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. The electric sensation made me instinctively push him away. Secretary Pei, this isn't right, I murmured, gripping the edge of the blanket tightly, my eyes shut on the hospital bed. I could feel his hungry gaze lingering on me. Your husband can cheat, but you can't, he said, almost resentfully. Am I not even worth that? He stood up, clearly frustrated, and turned to leave. I grabbed his sleeve. Don't go. Think carefully. If you want me to stay, you'll have to be ready for the consequences. Pei seemed to understand now. I wasn't some fragile woman. It was only because of deep, festering rage that I even had the strength to seek revenge. Honestly, if not for that fury, I probably wouldn't have had the will to fight back at all. But choosing Pei meant I had already stepped outside my comfort zone. Summoning all my courage, I said, "I'll divorce Jack." Pei shook his head. "That's not enough." "Then what is enough?" I snapped. "Jack can cheat, but I can't." We were so close now that I could feel his breath. The air between us thickened with tension. I grabbed the collar of his shirt. Pei pulled me into his arms again. "You're a strange woman," he whispered. "Other women care about money or looks, but you don't seem to care about anything." He smiled. "Though now, at least you're being smart. You came to ask for help." His embrace was warm. In my past life, I was a fool. He was right. This time, I was finally making better choices. I looked into Pei's eyes. In the past, I would have never abandoned my marriage, no matter how hard it got. But now, life had handed me another chance, and I finally realized just how wrong I'd been. This time, I would make a different choice. Before, I married Jack because I thought he was good to me. Now, I didn't care about kindness. I'd choose whoever gave me the best shot at survival and power. "I hope you'll help me," I said. "Help me live so well that Jack regrets ever letting me go." I still had an obsession. Because of him, I died without peace. I needed to see Jack drowning in regret. Pei stared at me, his eyes locked on mine. "If it makes you happy, come find me anytime. I'll help you with whatever you need." I looked at him and said, "I'll need your help these next few days. Otherwise, I'll never win against that old hag back home. It takes 100 days to recover from serious injury, and I just lost a baby. I'll need at least a week to heal." Pei brought me back to his home. He lived in a small detached villa inside the government residential compound. Honestly, for someone his age, he was doing quite well. His housekeeper was friendly and clearly curious. "Young master has never brought anyone home before," she said with a smile. "Such a shame about what happened. Here, this is the black bone chicken soup he told me to make for you." I took the bowl silently. Pei's household was well fed, no question. It hadn't even been a full week, but I'd mostly recovered. If I counted the days, it was just about time for the news of Jack's death to spread. There was still a big show waiting to be staged. When I got back home, Jack's mom was fuming the moment she saw me. "You filthy slut, you've slept with half the town. My son's not home, and you've already run off to another man's house? If this were ancient times, you'd have been thrown into a pig cage and drowned. You hear me, Grace?" I just stared at her, her rage only fueling my own. "You want to know where I was? I went to the Buddhist temple in the next town over to pray for Jack's safety. What about you? You've been at home every day, eating and sleeping like nothing's wrong. You're his mother, and you haven't even worried for a second." That set me off. I stormed outside, pointed right at the village chief's house and shouted, "And another thing, where's your daughter Emily? Where is she?" "My husband, did your tramp of a daughter lure him away?" The village chief didn't open the door. No surprise, he was probably hiding out of guilt. Jack's mom chased after me. "What are you doing? Yelling at the village chief's door like that? Do you want to ruin your life?" I didn't care. In my last life, I died from swallowing humiliation. In this one, I was going to spit it all back out. "You shut your mouth, old hag," I yelled. "If Jack dies out there, it'll be your fault. And village chief, don't think you're above this just because of your title. If my husband dies, it's your daughter who killed him. I'll curse your whole family for the rest of my life. You think I'll let you forget what you did to my child?" I stood right outside their door, shouting with my hands over my belly. And I didn't hold back. I only got nastier. "What, your daughter couldn't find a man who wasn't taken? She just had to go throw herself at someone whose wife is already several months pregnant? What kind of shameless tramp did you raise? Raised by a mom but not taught by one, clearly." The villagers had nothing better to do, so they quickly gathered around. The village chief and his wife had no choice but to come out. He puffed on a cigarette while she stood with her hands on her hips, sneering. "If anything, your husband seduced our daughter. You're the shameless one." Then she added, "Who do you think you are, standing in my daughter's way? You're just trying to cling to your man with that fetus of yours. Who knows if it's even his? Maybe you got knocked up by some other man." I laughed in disbelief. "So let me get this straight. I'm Jack's legal wife, but the baby in my belly is illegitimate? Meanwhile, your daughter's affair with my husband is perfectly fine?" The crowd started murmuring. "What a disgrace," someone said. Their daughter's ruined, and they still have the nerve to act righteous. Figures. That family's never had an ounce of decency. The village chief always liked messing around with widows, someone else added. His daughter's just like him. Shameless. Hearing that, the chief finally lost it and flicked his cigarette to the ground. So what exactly are you trying to do? I scoffed. You think this is me making a scene? I'm just telling the truth. If your daughter can sleep around, I can talk about it. The villagers immediately chimed in. Exactly. The village chief won't even admit what his daughter's done. It's disgusting. This kind of thing happens all the time. The chief's wife was furious. She pointed at me and shouted, Grace, cut the act. Can't even control your own man, and you want to blame us? Maybe your husband seduced our daughter. Our girl was a pure maiden. I smirked. Then do something about it. Hit me if you dare. What, you think I'm scared of you? She must have lost her mind because the very next second she lunged at me and shoved me hard. I collapsed onto the ground and the blood clot I'd been pressing in my palm burst instantly. Blood spread everywhere. The villagers gasped. Oh no, Jack's kid is gone. The chief's wife froze. I didn't mean to. Before anyone else could speak, the two of them slammed their door shut with a loud bang. I scrambled to my feet, ran home, grabbed a pitchfork and sprinted back. Bam, bam, bam. I smashed it into their front door like a maniac. You goddamn bastards, give me back my baby. The whole house went dead silent. No one dared make a sound. I tore the front door to shreds. Right then, a group of villagers ran into the courtyard, panic all over their faces. Bad news. Something happened to Jack and Emily. They were in a truck accident. There was a landslide. They're both dead. I lost it completely, slamming the pitchfork even harder. Jack's dead. You satisfied now? And his only child? His last bloodline is gone because of you. I'm calling the police. You better get ready to lose your badge and rot in prison. Then I spun on my heel and walked away. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to hide the grin spreading across my face. The village chief panicked. His wife panicked. Jack's mom panicked. The entire village was in chaos. Who would have thought? Jack's child gone one moment, and Jack dead the next. I ran like the wind. The village chief couldn't catch up. He shouted behind me, Grace, Jack's wife, don't go, let's talk, we'll make it right. Whatever you want, I'll make it up to you. Hearing him shout after me, I slowed down and turned back with a cold sneer. Screw you. You really think money can make up for all this? My man is dead. My baby was killed by your hands. I'm calling the cops. I'll make sure your husband loses his job and ends up behind bars. But truthfully, if there was money or goods involved, yeah, it could make up for something. That's why I was going to bleed them dry. The village chief's wife finally caught up and practically threw herself at my feet. She dropped to her knees in a panic. Please, you can't let my husband lose his job. We paid so much to secure that position for him. If someone's going to prison, let it be me. It was my fault. That woman was garbage in my last life too. Always insulting me. When Jack seduced her daughter, she blamed me, saying I couldn't control my own man and that I deserved to be abandoned. When I was in postpartum recovery, she'd sneak cold water onto my bedding in the middle of winter. Left me no choice but to sleep fully clothed to keep from freezing. I kicked her aside and pointed at the village chief. Don't worry. Once you're out of the picture, there'll be plenty of people eager to take your place. He stood there gasping for breath, clearly struggling to keep up. How much? He asked. Tell me what you want. Money? Anything. I laughed coldly. I want you to pay with your life, for the life of my child. The chief's wife exploded. What do you want from me, huh? You want me dead? I nodded. Don't rush it. What, you really think you're some kind of saint? If you die, does that bring my baby back? You and your daughter killed my child right after Jack died. The whole family's rotten to the core. The village chief sighed. Grace, look, we were in the wrong. How about this? We'll give you 300 yuan, and that's the end of it. No more fuss, no more accusations. I stared at him. It still felt like too little. Suddenly the chief's wife wailed. 300? How are we supposed to live? What about the house we're still building? The village chief snapped. He raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. So hard she coughed up blood. You crazy bitch, he growled. You're the reason Jack's bloodline ends with him. If we don't pay her, we'll all be sitting in jail. And when we get out, No one's gonna care what happens to you. She finally shut up. What a perfect scene. I clapped my hands. All right, that slap's worth 50. That means you still owe me 150. Slap her 3 more times and I'll accept the 300 and drop everything. The chief's wife looked stunned. You want me to slap him? Yeah, I said. Go on, slap him. Slap each other silly. You do that, I'll take the money and leave the village for good. I won't say another word about any of this. Sound fair? Honestly, my offer was extremely tempting. Without hesitation, the chief's wife raised her hand and slapped him. Once, twice, 3 times. Smack, smack, smack. The village chief's face turned red and swollen. I burst out laughing. Perfect, that'll do. Those slaps paid for a life. Now hand over the money and you won't hear a peep from me. But if I don't see it, I'll be at the county government's doorstep crying for justice. The village chief shot me a deadly glare, but in the end he turned around and walked off in silence. His wife limped after him. Me? I was perfectly calm inside. When I returned to the village, everyone was still hanging around, eager for gossip. Jack's wife is back. Let's see what's going on. Wow, someone whispered. Jack was really unlucky. No kids, no future. Even Jack's mom put on a dramatic act, pretending she was about to faint when she saw me. I didn't care. I followed the village chief to his house, took the money, and left without looking back. Dragging things out would have been pointless anyway. Before I left, the village chief leaned in and threatened, if you go blabbing about this to anyone, just wait. Don't think you can run your mouth and keep the money too. I looked him straight in the eye. Relax, I'm leaving for good. I won't come back. But you know as well as I do, if I report you to the county office in secret, your position's gone. I turned and walked out. I'm done here. Don't worry, I won't be back. As soon as I stepped outside, I spotted that old witch, Jack's mom. Smack! I slapped her across the face without a word. She was stunned. Everyone around us froze in shock. You hit me? My son just died, and this is how you treat his mother? Don't you have a shred of conscience? She screamed. But I still wasn't satisfied. I walked right up and slapped her again. I'm hitting you because you deserve it. If it weren't for you, my husband wouldn't be dead. If it weren't for your manipulative scheming, convincing him to go earn money for you, he wouldn't have gone at all. You killed your own son for money. That's what I'm hitting you for. She screamed back. If it weren't for you, my son wouldn't have died. If it weren't for you, some shameless woman pushing him to earn big, he wouldn't have gone. You're the one who killed him. I could still see her face from my past life, twisted with self-righteousness and hatred. No matter what I did now, it wasn't enough to vent the rage burning inside me. So I kept kicking the old witch lying on the ground. People around us finally rushed in and pulled us apart. She was gasping for breath, tears streaming down her face. Jack, heaven has eyes. You died because you married a cursed woman like this. You have to come back and see what she's done to your mother. She's torturing me. Your poor mother. She wailed. Grace, may you never rest in peace. I pushed away the people trying to hold me back and sneered. If heaven really had eyes, it wouldn't be Jack who died. It would have been you, you old hag. I begged Jack not to go. But you were the one shouting, pushing your son to leave. Well, he's dead now. You think I'll just act like nothing happened? No way. Before anyone could react, I went up and kicked her again. She passed out on the spot. People rushed forward, panicked. Jack's wife, stop, she's old. If you keep hitting her, someone's gonna die. I let out a cold laugh. I'll hit her every time I see her. Then I shoved them aside, turned, and walked into the house. This time, no one dared to help Jack's mom inside. I searched the place and confirmed that her retirement savings were still hidden where I last saw them. I took the money, stashed it up in the rafters, grabbed the 300 yuan and the marriage certificate between me and Jack, and left. According to the law, if a person has been missing for more than 2 years, a close relative can petition the local court to declare them legally missing. Once one spouse is declared missing, the other can file for divorce, and it will be granted. So technically, my marriage with Jack wouldn't be over for 2 more years. But I knew he was never coming back. I packed a few essentials and left without looking back. When I got to town, Pei was already at home, and clearly unhappy. Where did you go? He asked. You've been gone all day. You didn't even eat the black-boned chicken soup my aunt made with ginseng. I quickly explained. I went to get this. I held out the marriage certificate. Pei looked at it, and something unreadable flashed across his eyes. He wasn't happy, that much was obvious. I looked at him. Jack was lost in a mudslide with Emily. If I want to annul the marriage, I'll have to wait 2 years. Will you wait for me? He stepped forward, holding the now cold bowl of chicken soup. His face was full of concern. I opened my mouth without thinking. No one had ever fed me before. Pei was the first person who had ever treated me like this. I suddenly thought of my parents, and how terribly I had failed them. Of everyone in the world, I had let down myself the most. And right behind that, my mom and dad. I never should have let my life spiral this way. The soup was delicious. But as Pei fed me, tears began to fall from my eyes. How had I let my life become like this? Pei frowned when he saw me crying. Did someone hurt you? Tell me what you need. Whatever it is, I'll take care of it. You don't need to hold it in anymore. I took the bowl from his hands and sat on the couch, slowly sipping the broth. No one's hurting me, I said. I'm the one hurting myself. Every time I remembered the life I lived in the past, it was like wounding myself all over again. Pei didn't say anything. Instead, he just gently pulled me into a hug. If it hurts that much, cry. Let it out. It's over now. I wasn't in your past, but I want to be part of your future. Let me stay with you, all right? But I knew deep down, Pei wouldn't stay with me forever. I was a woman who'd been married and had an abortion. Could he really still want me? Even I couldn't understand what he saw in me. He didn't say anything, just quietly watched me drink the soup. After tearing into Jack's mom and the village chief, I finally felt a little lighter. And in the days that followed, after I had fully recovered with Pei's help, I got a job at a local work unit. I didn't have a college degree, so I attended night classes while working. I also started visiting my parents again. Once they heard what happened with Jack, our relationship slowly began to heal. Of course, now that I was with Pei, I had to tell them. Thankfully, they were very satisfied with my new partner and encouraged us to build a good life together. Time passed quickly. 2 years flew by, and the deadline for Jack's legal disappearance arrived. After he was officially declared dead, I filed a case in court and finally dissolved our marriage. Pei and I got married soon after. Outwardly, Pei was a polite, refined gentleman. But in bed, he was anything but. Utterly dominant and completely indulgent. Our relationship was harmonious in every way. Of course, there were always rumors at work, but I had experience, even if I lacked formal credentials at first. With Pei's support and my relentless drive, I worked hard, gained real skills, and proved myself. Eventually, no one dared whisper behind my back anymore. I heard Jack's mother had actually become paralyzed, for real this time. After I left, there was no one around to clean her up. Her life had become utterly miserable. Jack never returned to care for her. As for me, with Pei's backing, I was thriving. Our lives were full of momentum and growth. Before I knew it, our child had already turned 4 and was old enough to run errands. I almost forgot Jack even existed. Then one day, I ran into him on the street. He was slinking around in a hat like he didn't want to be seen. And Emily was right beside him. So they'd come back long ago, but I'd been too wrapped up in my own life to notice. At the time, I was probably drowning in motherhood and work. I didn't have the energy to care. I was curious, though. Without me to prop them up, had they kept fighting for success? Or had they collapsed? Jack looked visibly worn and beaten down. Meanwhile, my life with Pei had only gotten better. In fact, he had become increasingly possessive, even snapping when our child took up too much of my attention. I hated how controlling he could be sometimes. But it was true. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. From what I heard, Jack never looked after his mother. He actually came back just to ask her for her funeral fund. But the money was long gone. The child I once carried, taken from me by the village chief's wife. In the end, Jack had nothing. Nothing at all. And hearing that brought me a deep, satisfying sense of peace. I looked at my partner and my child. In this lifetime, I lacked nothing. My career was thriving. When Pei was transferred to a position in the city, I moved with him and continued to rise. I even met the woman from my past life, the one who had once ended up with him. She was cute, young, a little chubby, with a sweet smile. Oddly enough, the moment I saw her, I knew who she was. But it was too late. I was already with Pei, and she never had the chance. The years kept rolling on. I was now in my early 40s, working a light job, well-maintained, and still naturally beautiful. Age had only added a layer of sophistication. I dressed in tailored skirt suits, wore soft makeup, and still turned heads wherever I went. Pei's possessiveness only grew with time. Even now, in my middle age, he acted like I might leave him at any moment. Jack's mother had passed away years ago. Jack never returned to take care of her. My son was already in college. In this life, I had only one child. I didn't give birth to twins. Pei, in fact, never wanted more children. He once said bluntly, "I barely have time for one. If we had two, you'd forget I even exist." Even in middle age, his physical needs never faded. But to be honest, we were a good match. With love, career success, family, money, and power all surrounding me, I couldn't believe anyone could live poorly in this position. Jack eventually came back, but in this life he had never struck it rich. When he returned, he found he had nothing left. He completely lost it. I visited him once in the mental hospital. He just sat there, mumbling over and over, "It wasn't supposed to be like this. My mom deserved a noble funeral. I'm gonna kill Grace, that filthy bitch. I'm a big shot now. Where's my child? Where's my money? You all stole my money." That's what Jack kept shouting. As for Emily, I heard she actually lived pretty well. After all, shameless women rarely have it too hard in life. In our last life, she'd gambled right, becoming the official wife. But in this life, word was she became a mistress instead. After giving birth, the child eventually immigrated. Some said Emily got a big payout and went abroad too. Others said she might have died. No one really knew for sure. And honestly, I couldn't be bothered to find out. When the village chief and his wife died, Emily never came back. It was only then that I truly felt the weight in my heart lift. One by one, all of those people were gone, and I finally had a happy life of my own. I had lived long enough to see the beauty of the 21st century.